And now, good mic work commentaries and Greg Morgan presents the Winged Eagle Podcast.
Happy Saturday, everyone. What is going on? And welcome to your Winged Eagle podcast for January 13th, 2024. This is a pretty big Saturday. Lots going on. As soon as this podcast is over, y'all got AEW Collision, followed by AEW Battle of the Belts that's going head-to-head, I believe, with TNA Hard to Kill, correct? So all sorts of pro wrestling going on today, and I know you got other options because NFL playoff football is going on, much like it will be tomorrow night for our classic watch-along right here on YouTube as we watch the Royal Rumble 1995 tomorrow night and eyeball the city I was born in, playing against the city that I live near now, Detroit, LA. We got to watch that tomorrow night. We'll be eyeballing that game as we do our Sunday night hangout tomorrow. And today is going to be a big one. Jesus, y'all, this is a loaded podcast. That's why I kind of ran the countdown screen a few minutes before the top of the hour. So we can get up here right away and I can get all my BS shout outs and my nonsense. It's plug the channel and subscribe and like and all that stuff. Get all that done now so we can start getting into business because I was not here on Monday to do a Raw review. The last time you guys have seen me was on Sunday night when we watched Royal Rumble 1998 together. So I apologize for no Raw review this past week. I thought I would get some other content up on the channel midweek. I did not. I worked on some behind the scenes stuff instead. And we'll be back here tomorrow for another watch along. And unfortunately, no Raw review again this Monday, but I've got a makeup video planned for that. So we are here to get into a lot because I did not see, of course, and was up here to review Raw with you guys. So we have to talk about the Jinder Mahal and Seth Rollins stuff. We have to talk about the CM Punk and Drew McIntyre stuff as well. In terms of what else we're going to talk about today, in terms of news, we're definitely going to talk about Tony Khan's big day on social media. He had just another one of those days that Tony Khan tends to have and causing a shitstorm on social media. And this is one of those situations where you just have to question sometimes what's going on in this dude's head. So we'll talk about that, his Jinder tweets, why he even gave a shit about Jinder Mahal getting a title shot in the first place, and what it has caused in AEW as well with Hook, getting in Samoa Joe's face. We'll look at this past week's Dynamite as well. Dynamite Homecoming in Daly's Place was a show that I loved. I thought it was fantastic top to bottom. Really enjoyed Dynamite this week, but we'll talk about what went on there. We'll talk a little bit more about Chris Jericho. We're going to talk about Warner Brothers Discovery and AEW. We're going to talk about WWE potentially landing on Amazon Prime for Raw. We're going to talk about CJ Perry. We're going to talk about Cora Jade. We're going to talk more about Roman Reigns and The Rock with some new, rumors, speculation, reports coming out that maybe this match is not happening at the Elimination Chamber. And if it's not happening at Mania, we don't know what the hell is going to go on. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but we're not going to spend a full hour on it like we did last week because that was about enough of that. And like I said, we'll recap Dynamite this week. We'll talk about last night's Smackdown, run through maybe the Rampage results. We'll look ahead to tonight's Collision and Battle of the Belts and TNA Hard to Kill. And anything else you guys want to mention in the chat today, just bring it up. Let me know. We will do our best to get to it here, and we try to get this done within 2 hours. That way we will finish up right as Collision and Hard to Kill hits the airwaves there in case you guys have plans to watch that. So anyway, welcome to the channel. Welcome to Saturday. Welcome to the Winged Eagle. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you guys. Let me just cruise to the chat real quick, knock out some channel members, shout outs, super chats, that type of thing. And then we'll start getting rolling here with what we're going to be talking about today. But good to see Max Pokebra. I wish I could be at those meetings with Triple H. What meetings? I don't know which meetings you're talking about. But good to see you, Max. Tatanani is in the house as well. K-Dog's Kennel, man, we're going up on nearly a year and a half there of you being a shoot brother, or kayfabe brother, excuse me. Much love, brother. Sorry, haven't been around last couple of weeks. Been under the weather with bronchitis and now pink eye in both eyes. Damn, bro. What's going on with you, man? Well, hey, look at the bright side. At least you have no other eyes. At least you've gotten pink eye in all of the places you can. Because, I have 2 eyes. You do too, right? I think you do. Most people don't have 3, so there's no more eyes to get pink eye in. So that, my friend, is your silver lining. Get better, Kevin. Much love to you, and please take care of yourself. Good to see Chris Barrera up in here as well. We also have Jimmy Anderson chiming in. Generous super duper from you. Good evening, everyone. Just got inside after removing about a meter of snow. I think For us, it's like 3 feet, right? From my driveway. Nothing better to warm up with but this podcast. Man, that's rough, bro. It's chilly here. And when I say chilly, I mean 63 degrees Fahrenheit here in San Diego. Shoveling snow is rough, just like chopping wood is. And I'm glad that you're inside now, warm, kicking back, listening to some wrestling podcasts. Jimmy, be well as always. My boy, Amato is in the house. What's up? Back to a 50-hour work week. Of course you are. But was able to stay home today as we are getting hit with snow. Everybody's getting hit with snow. 3 to 4 inches we are expecting, and I don't want to do anything but catch up on wrestling talk. If I was snowed in, if I had 8 feet of snow outside my window, I wouldn't be leaving. I'd be doing wrestling stuff too. Good to see Amato. JJ Leg is here. Ben Espinoza, Sonic Plays, Stone Cold, Isaac, Titanium Titan. We have Mike Rouse. We have Isaac. Did I get you? I think I got you too. I think I got everybody. Yeah, I did. Right on, at least for the channel members. Toro Hill, Stephen Harris, Tony Khan, Name Curran, WWE Fan, Angry Operator, Ryan Adams, Rodrigo, Big J, Denny Downbad. We have, who else? William Cullen, The Dante, Janine, Gilbert, Nicola. Trying to get everybody here that I see. Decimania, Stephen Taylor, everybody. Thank you for being here and welcome to your January 13th edition of The Winged Eagle. Here's what you're going to see from me this week. Tomorrow, we are going to be watching WWE Royal Rumble 1995. Now, I did a poll last week between 95, 90, and 98. 98 won in a landslide, so we watched Royal Rumble 1998 last week. I decided to do 1995 this week because I just thought it would be fun. It's kind of a weaker Royal Rumble. Plus, we got that football game on, and there's only 2 Royal Rumbles left in the 90s that we haven't done. One is 1995, which we're going to bust out tomorrow, and the other one is 1990, the big Hogan and Warrior showdown. And then after that, we've pretty much knocked out all the good Rumbles, and there's a couple in 2000. We'll have to do like 2004, 6, and 7, I think are the only ones in the 2000s really left. We might do 2008, but I probably won't go any beyond that. So we've been doing really good on the Royal Rumbles, and as soon as the Royal Rumble is over, we're going to start busting out WrestleManias, and we got a couple of big ones on the list this year. But tomorrow night, we're going to be watching Royal Rumble 1995 Tampa, Shawn Michaels, Pamela Anderson, Bret Hart, Diesel, Lawrence Taylor. That whole thing kicked off leading into WrestleMania 11. So we're going to be watching Royal Rumble 95. I did a review of that show about 3 years ago on the channel here. So we're going to watch that one tomorrow. That will be fun. Like I said, no video, no Monday Night Raw review planned for Monday. I have a family dinner planned, so I will be eyeballing the show. We got a big championship match coming up, Seth Rollins versus Jinder Mahal. I do think it's possible, we'll talk about this in a minute, I do think it's possible for maybe a Damian Priest cash-in or something, but I also think that Monday should be the final night of Monday Night Football, right? I think there's a playoff game on Monday. And then after that, the playoff games, I believe, should probably stick to the weekends. But you guys can correct me if I'm wrong on that, which means this Monday should be the final Monday of Monday Night Football. So I'm not sure if WWE would do a big title change on a week when they're going head-to-head. Maybe the following week where they're unopposed finally might be a good week for something like that. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, but we will not be here Monday night to review Raw. If a title change happens, I will be up late that night for a mic drop to talk about it. Otherwise, I'm going to be up here on Tuesday to give you guys a video. I'm just not sure what yet. It's either going to be a podcast or maybe we are going to bust out some Saturday night's main event watch along. So I'm going to put all that together probably tonight, and I'll give you guys some information on that when we're watching our Royal Rumble 1995 tomorrow, or in our watch along. So keep that in mind. And like I said, tonight, Hard to Kill, Battle of the Belts, Collision, all going on. We could see major things go down possibly tonight. If we do, I'll try to get up here and discuss it with you as soon as possible. Just keep that in mind. You will see me this week. You will see me on Tuesday, just not quite sure what exactly that's going to be. So that's kind of what's on tap for the weekend. Sorry about missing the last 2 Mondays, but next week on Raw, we will be back up here on Monday after Raw to do a review. So just keep that in mind for this week on the channel. Sorry, things are a little bit whack right now. We need to start with wrestling news. Now, last week, I spent, I think, the first, I would say, hour on this podcast. talking about The Rock and Roman Reigns, and I was kind of laughing at myself. I'm going to make a little bit of fun of myself here, if you don't mind. And I thought it was so funny after looking back because I cropped that out. And I think I put a mic drop on it or something. And I was listening to my own comments, which I never really go back and watch myself, but I was like listening to what I said. I think I put something up on Twitter. And I'm like, I think it's hilarious how I've basically had to talk myself off the ledge. The Rock coming back here in San Diego and making that head of the table line sent me kind of like into a little bit of an internal panic because of what we know WWE tends to do in these situations and what they have done in the past. And all year long, WWE has been telling this beautiful story with Cody. Mostly, a lot of Cody's story between last year and this year has been a lot of filler, but they are definitely implying that his story is going to finish at WrestleMania. Even, last year, on SmackDown when Cody and Roman had that face-to-face in the aisleway there with Nick Aldis in between them and everything, they've kept reminding you that that's what they're going to do. And when The Rock came back in and made that head of the table line and it got all the online discussions going, and a lot of fans have the opinion, well, that match isn't going to happen unless it happens at WrestleMania, and that kind of freaked me out. Because I'm like, wait, if it happens at WrestleMania, what about Cody's story? And how can you try to do both? Okay, well, then The Rock comes in. We went through all these scenarios, like 10 of them, 10, 15 scenarios last week. Well, then maybe The Rock drops the title at the Royal Rumble to Randy Orton, and Cody finishes a story with Randy Orton. Maybe there's a triple threat like there has been at WrestleMania 20 and 30. Maybe it's Cody, Rock, and Roman. Maybe Rock works night one and Roman works night one and works night two. We thought of all of those scenarios. And at the end of the day, the only scenario that I could come up with that made any sense was that Rock and Roman Reigns should happen at the Elimination Chamber. If you want to know my reasons for that, I talked about it for a fucking hour last week endlessly. So just go listen to that. I stand by all of that. I'm not going to rehash all of that. So then after all of that is posted and we do the podcast, the more I start thinking about it, I'm like, I think I was getting way too worried about Rock and Roman Reigns ruining Cody's story. I think I was getting way too worried about Rock and Roman Reigns main eventing night two. The more and more I thought about it with my brain, and I usually trust my instinct, I just really don't see how Rock and Roman Reigns is going to main event night two. I just don't see how that's going to happen. I don't see how you derail all of Cody's stuff. I don't see how you allow The Rock to do that, especially last year when you were talking to him about WrestleMania 39 and you put your pencils down, remember? It sounds like WWE isn't just going to go along with whatever The Rock wants. They have things on their end that they want. And I just don't see how Rock would come back in and it would monkey wrench all of their storylines. I feel like the only way for Rock to come in and do this shit with Roman Reigns is for him to come in and do it without it screwing up all of your other already in place plans. And that's where the big debate of this match can't happen at Elimination Chamber. It can only happen at WrestleMania and all that nonsense that I completely disagree with. Well, now it was reported, or not reported, but discussed this week in The Observer. Dave Meltzer is hearing that the plan is not for Roman Reigns and The Rock to be at the Elimination Chamber. Roman Reigns isn't even advertised for the event yet. Doesn't mean he can't be in the future. It just means as of now, Roman is not scheduled or advertised for the show, and Meltzer has not heard anything internally that would imply this match is going to happen there. That doesn't mean it's not going to happen there. That just means that that's kind of what's being heard or understood right now. So let's just say hypothetically, that's the case. Internally in WWE, Rock and Roman Reigns is going to happen, but it's just not going to happen at the Elimination Chamber. Now we're back to the WrestleMania thing again. Or are we looking at something else? When you think about Rock coming back in 2011, it took a full year for them to get to that match with John Cena. I don't think they would do the same thing here, have Rock come in and like be an enforcer in Cody and Roman and set up the match against Roman for WrestleMania 41. That just doesn't sound like something they would do. However, maybe doing something in Saudi Arabia is possible because we've talked about Saudi Arabia before. We talked about Roman and Rock in Saudi Arabia before when this match has been talked about. Hey, if it doesn't have to happen at WrestleMania, I can see Saudi being a place for it considering how much money they throw around. with the shows and how many big matches and dream matches and people coming out of retirement we've already seen at that event. It feels like that could be another good place for it. And I would much prefer that. Here's basically what I don't think is going to happen. I do not think Rock and Roman Reigns is going to happen at WrestleMania. I just don't. Not on night 2. There's a chance it could happen on night 1. They could do the double night thing, but I don't know if I want to see that. I mean, Rock and Roman Reigns closing night 1 or maybe even opening night 1. The first match on night 1 is Rock versus Roman Reigns, and then Roman beats him and then goes into night 2 to face Cody in the main event and loses. I don't like the sound of that. I don't like the sound of Roman working both nights. I just don't. I'm not saying WWE's not going to do it. I'm just saying I personally don't like the sound of it, and as a fan, I'd prefer we don't do that. Just like the triple threat. I know it's the tradition. We've talked about it with the Benoit and Danielson victories, but I don't see the need to have Cody's story that he's telling to overlap with the head of the table story. These are 2 separate stories. I don't want these two. I don't want a triple threat between Cody, Roman, and Rock for the same reason that I don't want 2 people going into the Hall of Fame together. You wouldn't believe how many times over the years that's a very common question that I get. Do you think so-and-so and so-and-so, this person and this person should have their match together and go into the Hall of Fame together? No, they're completely separate careers and deserve their own separate moments. And I feel like the same thing with Cody's story and the Rock and Roman story. Those are 2 mega stories that deserve separate matches, separate situations, and they don't need to intersect or overlap. They could maybe intersect or pass by each other, but they don't need to overlap and make a big giant match out of this thing. So the more and more I think about it, regardless of what Dave says he's heard or whatever about the Elimination Chamber, that is a bit worrisome to me. I'm not going to lie, but still at the end of the day, I'm going to go with my gut. I'm going to go with my instinct, and I'm going to go with what I'm feeling in my heart of hearts. And I just do not feel like Roman and Rock is going to be the main event of WrestleMania Night 2. I just can't see that being the case. I can't see them derailing Cody. The only prediction that I feel comfortable making with a fair amount of confidence is that Cody will, in fact, finish his story, because they've been telling you that. They've been leaving a breadcrumb trail all the way to WrestleMania 40. And for them just to cut it off now and say, oh, fuck all those plans, it's Roman's time now. It's Roman and Rock's time now, excuse me. I just can't see that being the case. And like I said last week, if Roman and Rock happens at WrestleMania, that means that Rock either has to win the Royal Rumble or the Elimination Chamber if he wants a title shot. Most likely, right? I suppose the Elimination Chamber, it has not been announced by WWE that the winner of that will get a title shot. We're just assuming that. So I might be admittedly assuming that incorrectly. Roman might have to defend his title in the Chamber. Maybe Seth has to defend his title in the Chamber, or like we expect, the winner of the Rumble will likely challenge one champion and the winner of the Chamber will challenge another. So if that is the case, that means Rock is going to have to enter the Royal Rumble. And I just can't see him coming in as a surprise. And I think if he was going to be in the Rumble, they would want to announce him for it. So I just don't see him being there. And then if he goes into the Elimination Chamber, he's going to win the Chamber against 5 or 6 of WWE's top stars and gets the title shot at the Royal Rumble or at WrestleMania? Does that sound right? No. Okay, so then look at the other side of that coin. If Roman Rock happens at WrestleMania, then it's not for the title. That means you have to take the title off of Roman Reigns early, perhaps at the Royal Rumble in the Fatal 4-Way. But again, like we talked about last week, I cannot see that happening. I mean, it would have to be the main event for starters. If Roman is going to drop the title at the Royal Rumble, that match has to go on last, which means if it does go on last, that's going to raise a lot of red flags for some fans, like, oh shit, he might actually lose the belt. Because if he was going to drop the title, do you think they would have Roman's 3.5, nearly 4-year-long run end in the undercard of a show? Does that sound right? So when you think about all these things, all I have a suspicion about is that we're somehow going to get a way to get the Rock and Roman story told without disrupting Cody's story. Another idea floating around, Cody waits till WrestleMania 41. Double middle finger to you. No, that is the most asinine idea I've ever heard. If anybody needs to wait until WrestleMania 41, it's Roman and Rock. Cody waiting another year to finish that story ain't happening. They already asked WWE to wait a year as it is and trying to do that again and then have Cody just tread water for another 365 days. Not happening. It's this one. So I feel that Cody will win the championship on night 2 in the main event. How does The Rock tie into that? Is it something similar to WrestleMania 27? Is he going to come in and rock bottom and cost Roman the match? Or is he just going to come in and endorse Cody Rhodes? Is it something like that? Is it The Rock raising Cody's hand, and showing him love? Maybe after he loses at the Elimination Chamber to Roman, then Rock has a presence at WrestleMania or something, and he comes out to, I don't know, something like that. But if Elimination Chamber is not in the plans, then I feel like we need to start looking at whatever the next Saudi Arabia show is, because it's been a while since we've done a Crown Jewel. There's probably going to be another one right after. If anybody has a date on any of these, please let me know. We also have Backlash in France. Then Money in the Bank will be in Toronto. A lot of international stuff. So, Rock has always said last year in that Pat McAfee show that he wants this to be not the end of something, but the beginning of something bigger. Let's do something that's never been done. Well, Rock coming back in and just losing a match has been done before. So I can't see him just coming in, losing at Elimination Chamber to Roman and then leaving, or coming in, losing to Roman on night 1 of WrestleMania and leaving. None of that sounds right to me. And I certainly can't envision him winning the Rumble or winning the Chamber and challenging Roman for the title and winning the fucking title in the main event of WrestleMania 40. That would piss me off. So I don't see any of that really being likely. So what is likely then? Maybe Rock and Roman begin their head of the table storyline after Cody finishes his. But again, my only issue with that is if it was all going to take place after WrestleMania, I wouldn't have brought Rock back on day 1 on January 1st. I would have brought him back the night after WrestleMania or something on Raw to confront Roman. Well, I guess Roman would be a loser in that scenario. So maybe the following Friday on Smackdown and set it up there. So Rock teasing this match in January means that it's going to have to be tied into WrestleMania somehow. Just maybe not the match itself is going to happen there. And that's why I think Saudi Arabia, or maybe a series of matches, maybe a trio of matches, maybe, Saudi and then SummerSlam and then something else. Maybe Saudi, SummerSlam, and then the blow off in Saudi. 2 Saudis and a SummerSlam. I don't know. In my heart of hearts, though, Cody's story will not be derailed by The Rock. I just can't see Triple H doing that. I also can't see The Rock just, I'm going to go, as I was talking to somebody on Twitter yesterday. I think a lot of people are failing to realize. I love that. I love when people tell you what you're failing to realize. No, not failing to realize it. Just, I'm not that stupid. That The Rock might just be messing with us. It's not 2015. I understand that WWE has tickled us in our little nether regions before, only to blue ball us at the end. They've teased matches that they have not delivered. Austin and Hogan, Austin and Punk, Rock and Triple H. There's been plenty of examples of where WWE has kind of planted a seed for a match or made you think the match could happen in the future and not delivered it. But most of the time it was kind of tongue-in-cheek. Austin made the comment at the Hall of Fame about Hogan and turned around. WrestleMania would be another full year away if they ever want to get that match done. And the Rock and Triple H from a few years back on SmackDown backstage, that was like in October or November, maybe teasing something for WrestleMania, which we never saw. So we've gotten that before. However, like I said, the days of WWE, because I firmly believe that back in the day, WWE really, truly did enjoy fucking with us. They liked to disappoint us. They liked to troll us. And I think they got some sort of perverse or bizarre joy out of it. But that was before AEW formed. That was before Vince McMahon left. And that was before the TKO merger. And I think those 3 things together really put an end to the days of WWE taking a shit on their audience, because that's Triple H's job performance, is going to be really crucial to how long he keeps this job, with WWE until, and if shit flies off the rails, then, TKO might have to think about replacing him or whatnot. So Triple H is not really in his best interest to alienate, piss off, and purposely troll the fans. That's not the business they're in anymore. So in my mind, I see no fucking universe where Rock comes in and before he goes out to the crowd, and goes out to the ring, he tells Triple H at Gorilla, "Hey, Triple H, I'm going to go out there and fuck with your audience. Is that cool with you?" He's like, "No, don't do that. You're going to fucking get their hopes up and then not deliver it. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Because it doesn't benefit anybody. Doesn't benefit The Rock, WWE, the fans, Roman, Cody, nobody. It benefits absolutely no one to go out there, drop that head of the table line, and then not say anything else about it. Because they know what that's going to spark. It's WrestleMania season. It's like the first day of WrestleMania season. And you're going to drop a line like that and then not deliver some sort of match or situation or story? No, no. The minute that line came out of The Rock's mouth, that was full-blown confirmation to me that the match is happening. Yes, I understand that they've teased things before. They've teased things before, Greg. I know. It ain't before anymore. It's a completely different ball game being played now. If you don't remember, WWE is no longer owned by the McMahons. It's different. And being in the business of alienating your audience is just not something I believe WWE is going to be doing right now. So in my opinion, Rock and Roman is happening. That's a given. It's just a matter of when. And as much as I was freaking out about it last week, and I'm still kind of freaking out about it now, in my heart of hearts, whatever they do with these guys, whatever they do, I don't think it's going to result in Cody's story being taken away from him. That's where I stand on that. So look at that. We got that done in like 25 minutes. That's not bad. I spent a whole hour talking about that shit yesterday. Or I'm sorry, last Saturday. Remember? So we're going to get off the Roman and Rock topic for now. We will probably learn a lot more as we get on the other side of the Royal Rumble in terms of, what direction they're going in with these guys. Plus, by then, we will know the winner of the Royal Rumble, and that could also be very telling as to what WWE is going to do at WrestleMania, because I think most of us, everybody, me, myself, everybody in the chat, a lot of YouTubers, people online, a lot of people are just kind of under the assumption that it's going to be CM Punk winning the Rumble. I still feel like it is, but man, it's starting to be, a lot of people are just believing that. And it still could be Cody. Cody could do a back-to-backer. Shit, it could be Gunther. You don't know. Because if Seth Rollins, for some reason, drops his title before WrestleMania, then Punk and Seth doesn't need to be for the championship either. So it all just kind of depends. But we're going to talk about that here soon because we have a big championship match coming up on Monday. Seth Rollins defending against Jinder Mahal. And since he beat Drew McIntyre a week ago, I've been saying for the last 2 weeks now, what does Seth Rollins do at the Royal Rumble? What does he do? I thought it was going to be a rematch with McIntyre. But McIntyre seems to kind of accepted that and moved on with something with Punk and declared himself, I believe, for the Royal Rumble on Monday, did he not? So I feel like Seth and Drew isn't going to be it. He's got a match with Jinder on Monday that could end in a no contest or a DQ, and they could run it back at the Royal Rumble, or we could get a cash in. What if Damian Priest cashes in, wins the championship, and then you get Seth Rollins and Damian Priest for the title at the Royal Rumble? Rollins wins it back from him. And then Punk wins the Rumble, and now you got Punk and Seth at Mania, and then Damian Priest wins the title again at Backlash or something when he gets a title shot. Who knows? Some shit like that. Or does Seth Rollins take the night off? 20 years ago, Royal Rumble 2004, we got a weird championship match. Brock Lesnar versus Bob Holly. Why can't we get Seth Rollins versus Jinder Mahal at the Royal Rumble in a rematch? Could happen. If not, I think it would be cool if Seth Rollins took the night off and sat in a skybox and watched the event. And remember how a couple of months ago when I was mentioning, or a few weeks back when I was mentioning CM Punk winning the Rumble scenarios, I said, look, the only way that it would make any sense for the Rumble winner to not challenge for Roman's belt is to have a deeply personal issue. Or if you hate the World Heavyweight Champion, which I believe CM Punk does, they are building that rivalry between the two of them. There should be no hesitation. If Cody and Punk both, there should be no decision. You know what I mean? Every time there's a Rumble winner, who will they challenge? And then they got to appear on SmackDown. They got to appear on Raw. They have to make an appearance on both shows before they decide. Fuck all of that. Decide right after the match. As soon as you win, climb up to the ropes. Let's say it's CM Punk. CM Punk climbs up to the ropes. And instead of pointing at the WrestleMania sign, he points at Seth Rollins, who's up in the skybox watching. And he just points right at him. Pyro going off, not pointing at the Mania sign, pointing at Seth. I think that would be beautiful. And by the same token, if Cody were to win, he would need to get on the mic right away and say, you know who I'm picking, Roman, I'll see you at WrestleMania. So I feel like either way, there should be no decision to be made here, if it's CM Punk or Cody Rhodes. And that's all assuming that Seth Rollins is champion going into WrestleMania, which I believe he will be. I don't think he's going to drop it to Jinder or possibly Priest, but shit, you never know. We'll see what happens there, but we'll talk about Jinder and Seth here in just a minute. Let's talk about Tony Khan's fun day on Twitter, shall we? And this is a lot to do with Jinder Mahal. So, of course, on Monday night, we saw the Seth Rollins and Jinder Mahal promo that led to a brawl that's setting up a championship match for this week on Raw, right? So we see that, and Tony Khan, for whatever reason, decides ahead of AEW Dynamite to tweet the following, and I quote, "A double standard. Hook, 28-1 career record, on a winning streak, calls out the champ. A logical challenge sparks online outrage. Jinder has lost every single match he's in for the past year, immediately gets title shot. Where's the rage? Hashtag AEW Dynamite tomorrow on TBS." Okay, this is just crazy. This is this thing I would expect from a tribal little dipshit. You know, because they always like to compare, where's the rage with that one? If this happened in WWE or this happened in AEW, everybody would be mad, that type of thing. This is what he sounds like to me. And I'm like, wait a second, Tony, you need to leave this to the angry, confused, pent-up, inadequate little dipshits that can't stop bitching with each other every day of every night on that godforsaken fucking app. And the fact that he tweets this, number one, is hilarious, because I don't know about you guys, when Tony Khan tweets something like this, I find this more entertaining than infuriating. I have no idea what it is about wrestling fans that allows them to have so much hate and contempt in their heart from somebody that they don't know, and they allow themselves to believe narratives of. I just don't get it. I kind of want my wrestling promoters to be a little bit kooky. I actually kind of like it. I don't think it's really bad at all. I think it's a little bit embarrassing, but at the same time, I really like the entertaining aspect of Tony Khan's shit posting, because it's pretty funny. And sometimes you have to wonder what he's doing and where he is when he gets mad and decides to tweet that. And what this immediately reminded me of was 1999. Butts in seats. Mick Foley, same thing. Tony Schiavone being told by Eric Bischoff to throw shade at WWE for their championship match, and what happened? 500,000 people changed the channel and went and watched Mick Foley win the championship. Huge backfire. This isn't the same thing, but it kind of resembles that a little bit, because this is Tony Khan complaining and throwing shade at a challenger for a WWE title in a promotion that he's not booking for. This has nothing to do with with AEW or Tony Khan. So why the hell is he chiming in on a WWE championship match? Why are you drawing attention to the competitor's show? You know what I mean? USA Network Twitter account responded and said, "What was the cage match rating?" Which I popped. That popped me. Hilarious. See, that's the thing. I like Tony Khan just fine, but I can also appreciate a good burn on him when I see one. And that was because Tony Khan mentioning cage match ratings and like the scrum was like, oh my God, this guy's such a mark. But that's kind of why I like him. This doesn't anger me. This is fine with me. You guys are all fucking crazy. I don't know why everybody hates so outwardly and directly, when it's just much easier to roll your eyes and chuckle. You know what I mean? So Tony Khan then responded to the USA Network tweet by saying, and I quote, "A moral victory for USA is one win more than their world title challenger Jinder Mahal has in the past 364 days, because it's been literally a full year since he won a match. You really put AEW in our place, getting Jinder in a big match on your TV show. Do it more often." Oh my God, Tony Khan. Why? I just love that he's this angry. What did Jinder Mahal do to you, dude? I understand that Jinder, his run was kind of a joke, but Jinder Mahal is not a joke of a pro wrestler. He's been portrayed at that at times, but this man has done a lot of good things, and he was on fire in that promo on Monday. And I think even though we all hated his title run from a few years back, I think everybody appreciated the shape that he got himself in, the hard work that he put in, which is really the reason why I think they gave him the championship to begin with. And his run was largely shit, but Jinder ain't doing the booking. You know what I mean? And Jinder has never been one of my favorite guys, but I've certainly never hated on the dude for any reason. And Tony Khan, the promoter of another company, weighing in on a championship match set on Raw that has nothing to do with him or his product or anything else, is just a little weird. Eric Bischoff, of course, has gone ape shit for 3 straight days about this. You know, Bischoff, who has a lot of criticisms for Tony Khan, and most of these criticisms are offenses that Eric Bischoff was the biggest offender of. You know, nobody acted like a fucking clown on TV up the ass of his competition more than Eric Bischoff. A lot of people were showing him examples of how crazy he was back in the day, and he kept saying the same thing. One big difference is I was doing this on national TV head to head. I'm like, why is that a big difference? You're doing the same thing. The behavior is the same. Does not matter where it is or what the circumstances are. You're being a clown, a fucking clown. Holding up Vince Spheres, Turner signs, challenging Vince to matches on pay-per-view, WWE driving army jeeps into their show, TNA taking cookies to Smackdown. Like, when shit like that happens, then come talk to me. But this idea that, you know, what was the pretty big opinion floating around about Tony Khan, he's not focused on his own product. I agree, this can be a little bit distracting, but these are tweets. These are tweets that take like 11 seconds. If there's one thing I think most fans and everybody who works for Tony Khan can agree on, is that the only thing this guy concentrates on and focuses on are his business or businesses. He might sleep less than Vince McMahon. Dude has no bitches. You ever seen him walking around with a woman? He's got all the time in the world to do this stuff. So I don't think he's like necessarily losing focus. I've always said that Tony Khan wears too many hats. He has too much focus. He needs to take away some focus and give it to other people, because trying to book, you know, Rampage and Dynamite and Collision and Ring of Honor and own football teams and soccer teams, I don't know how you do that. I don't understand how he does it. So taking 11 seconds to throw shade at WWE in a tweet, I don't believe means he's not concentrating on his product at all. WCW, ECW as well was a big offender of that as well. Paul Heyman, every single thing you saw on AEW TV, every match they had, every pay-per-view, endless references by Joey Styles about either one of the two companies. Paul Heyman would cut promos on Bischoff and Vince, calling the Antichrist and the Taliban backstage to his talent. None of that is even close to as crazy as what Tony Khan is doing. So I feel like that everybody who gets outraged with anger either just has to admit that they prefer to be angry more than anything else, or they have to admit that they don't have the single first clue about wrestling history and the behavior and behaviors of promoters that preceded Tony Khan. I think it's embarrassing. Yeah, I think sometimes somebody needs to grab Tony Khan's phone away from him. Maybe Danielson needs to issue him a fine, because all he does is stir up shit. And sometimes when he does that, it can backfire. And this might be one of those situations. Like I said earlier, it's too bad that Monday Night Football, there's a football game on Monday night, right? A playoff game, I believe, going head to head with Raw. Could you imagine if Monday Night Football was done? What if it was done a week ago, and this week Monday is unopposed, Raw's unopposed. It's Seth and Jinder for the championship. They pop a huge rating, huge increase because football's gone, and then they can attribute that to Tony Khan. It can be Butts in Seats, the sequel, where Tony Khan getting his panties in a bunch on Twitter actually helped his competition. Now, I don't think Tony Khan's tweet is going to carry enough weight to get an extra million people tuning into Raw or anything like that, but it might swell up a little bit of support for Jinder Mahal. It's made me care a hell of a lot more about him. Maybe you'll even get some cheers on Monday night when he's in that match. Who knows? I don't think he's going to beat Seth Rollins, but hell, they're doing this match and we still have no real plan for Seth at the Rumble. So we could see some shenanigans go down on Monday night, you know, to where this is going to be ran back a week later, or perhaps even on pay-per-view. Maybe that's WWE's way of showing Tony Khan that they don't give a shit what he thinks. Oh, we're going to give this guy that's gotten one win in the last 365 days that you for some reason care about, we're going to give him a title shot on pay-per-view now. Enjoy. Oh, by the way, there's going to be 60,000 people there too watching that, in case you're interested. I mean, that's what I would do if I was in WWE's position here. So we'll see how this plays out on TV, but I think it's not going to have the effect that the butts and seats from Shivani did, but still, none of that was good for Tony Khan or his company. You know what I mean? That's where you have to be fair in your criticisms with him, because even though I kind of like a crazy owner and a crazy promoter, sometimes you can do things that's damaging, because somebody like Tony Khan, people are lying in wait, waiting to pounce. There are accounts on Twitter or X on Twitter that have still it's Saturday that have still not stopped tweeting about this. Look at their timeline. Every tweet is either more anger towards Tony Khan or retweets of others shitting on him. Anything they can find is, I hate Tony Khan, I hate Tony Khan, I hate Tony Khan. Eric Bischoff has spent the last 72 hours tweeting his rage at Tony Khan and Dave Meltzer and some sort of tweet about an all-meat diet. That's all the motherfucker has done for 3 days. It's obsessive. Tony Khan said stupid things in those tweets, but he was done after that. It went on for about 30 minutes and it was over. It's been 72 hours and you still have Bischoff going on and on and on about it. And same with other people that have hate boners for this guy. They haven't shut up. It's been 3 days of them throwing shade. This is what they whack off to. This is what gives them erections and arouses them. So if you're Tony Khan and you know this, he said himself, oh, AEW is the target of all this hate. If you know this, why are you going to fan these flames? You know, sometimes fanning flames can be good, bringing attention and publicity or whatever to your company, but you're fanning the flames of anger towards you while promoting your competition's product. That's where I think he needs to kind of rethink this shit before he tweets. But I understand we've all gotten into Twitter beef. Sometimes you just can't help yourself and you just have to do it. But when you have the following like him, when you're under the microscope and the amount of scrutiny that he's under, you know, I would maybe think better of that. And with Tony Khan, he doesn't seem like the type of guy that, you know, would want to quit or anything like that. But I feel like Tony Khan, based on what we've seen from him in the first 5 years of AEW's existence, I feel like it would be better for AEW's product and to calm some of the hate boners and return them to their flaccid states if Tony Khan was just completely out of the fucking limelight totally. He can book everything and be completely in charge backstage behind the scenes, but no more tweets, no more coming out to make announcements. Other people do this for you. Let your social media team handle the retweets and the plugging and the promotion and all of that for AEW. And you stay largely in the background, you know, kind of like Triple H. You know, Triple H will pop his head in every now and then. He'll say something on social media every now and then. But for the most part, he's kind of in the background now that they already have authority figures on TV in place and everything. And I think for, you know, AEW's future, I bet you a lot of AEW talent would feel this way too, is that even though I personally don't have the panty tangling, stick up my ass rage that everybody else seems to have for this guy, I still think it would be best if he would just shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? And I think if Tony Khan was completely invisible to where you hardly ever heard anything about him, all you know is he's there at Gorilla directing traffic. You don't see from him. You don't hear from him. He's not screaming a promo into our faces or anything like that. And he's just out of the spotlight. That would be better. It can be done. Tony Khan can have people out there speaking and making announcements and all of that stuff. And when he does have to be the guy that comes out and says a few things, he can do that. But he's the face of the company. I think he likes to do that. They do those media scrums. He's a big part of those. But I just think that it would probably be better for AEW if fans didn't even know Tony Khan existed. I think their product, because, you know, the fans they're always looking for something to hate. Like I said, they're ready to pounce on anything. And so if Tony Khan's gone and he's not fanning their hate boners and fueling, you know, their rage, then they can't really be that enraged. It'll eventually burn out. You can only talk about Tony Khan for so long. If he remains silent for one straight year and doesn't say shit, you know, your anger is going to dissipate and evaporate when you have nothing left to complain about. So I feel like Tony Khan, it might just be in his best interest for his talent, for his company, for the future of that company. Everybody who works there is just stay out of the spotlight, because more often than not, he finds himself in a position that has him receiving a lot of criticism. And I think he needs to be smart enough to recognize that when it happens, you know, because it's one thing after another with this guy, you know. And then at the scrum, at the last pay-per-view, he knew he was going to have to come into that thing fielding Chris Jericho questions, and he didn't really answer them. And then Tony Khan came in and put her hat on him and sunglasses, and everybody's like, oh, see, he's unprofessional and that type of thing. So I feel like his presence is probably, it's more beneficial for him just to not have a presence, I think. Just be in charge of the company quietly behind the scenes. I almost feel like that would be best for everybody. You know what I mean? But Tony Khan, it was just like 2 or 3 tweets. That's one thing you have to remember. It's not like he went on a tweeting rampage. A lot of people are saying he melted down. He didn't melt down. It was 3 tweets. It's 3 tweets. Melting down is what Eric Bischoff is doing. Look at his timeline. It's fucking ridiculous. Every single fucking tweet is about Tony Khan or Meltzer or meat. The dude's off his rocker. So I think the only people melting down here, I think the only people going on Twitter rampages are the people responding to Tony Khan. Because, like, just think about that. What's weirder to you? Sending out 3 tweets mad at your competition, or you got a little upset and you sent out 3 tweets throwing shade, or posting 97 consecutive tweets about how much you hate the guy. What's weirder to you? What sounds weirder? What sounds more obsessive? What sounds like the behavior of someone who's not focused? The 3 tweets or the 97 tweets? Because everybody who hates Tony Khan has a timeline that is 3 days full of Tony Khan tweets. To me, that's weird. Way weirder than anything Tony Khan typed out in his crusty little fingers. I don't get it. So speaking of Tony Khan troubles and AEW troubles, we still have those those Chris Jericho allegations floating over their heads, which is not good. Tony Khan really hasn't answered any concrete questions about that yet. And on Dynamite on Wednesday, as we saw, the extremely transparent way that AEW attempted to diminish or suppress the boos that Jericho would likely receive was to play his music throughout his entire run-in. He did a run-in, and Judas just kept playing so you could drown out some of those boos. And I'm wondering, because he does have a championship match tonight, correct? Battle of the Belts. I believe it's a street fight. It's Big Bill and Ricky Starks against Lex Sex Gods for the championships. I could not imagine AEW putting the tag team titles on Le Sex Gods. That would be crazy, especially since Sammy Guevara beat Ricky Starks clean on Dynamite. I feel like tonight what needs to happen is Jericho needs to go out there, have his match, lose, and get out of there for a while. I think he's got to... I mean, we don't know if there's any internal investigation. Tony Khan hasn't really revealed that one way or the other. But I feel like Jericho might need to go away for a while until this resolves itself or blows over, or there's an investigation and they hand down, a punishment or whatever. We don't even know. And there's really not much news on that front in terms of the Kylie Ray stuff and those allegations and accusations and whatnot. We didn't really hear anything new about that this week, but we did hear another piece of juicy information from the Jericho cruise that I went on nearly 4 years ago now. Jericho Cruise Part 2, the second wave, back in January of 2020. It has been reported this week that Jericho got into a little altercation with another wrestler on that very cruise. Now, this is also the very same cruise where Eddie Guerrero's daughter claims that Vicky Guerrero's husband tried to sexually assault her. And that whole thing was going on. I didn't even know about this. So I guess this was brought up by Brian Last on Jim Cornette's podcast, where he said, there's another story that I would just love to tell, but I don't have permission to tell it, about Jericho getting knocked out by somebody on his own cruise ship. Well, Cassidy Haynes from bodyslam.net went digging around on this, and this is what they reported. And I quote, this is from bodyslam.net. I asked around about the incident on the Jericho cruise, and sources were able to confirm the story to me as well as the identity of the person involved. The incident took place during Chris Jericho's Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea Part 2, the second wave, back in January 2020. During the cruise, there was an altercation between Chris Jericho and former WWE US and Tag Team Champion MVP, where heated words were exchanged that resulted in MVP knocking out Chris Jericho. This wasn't the only time the two crossed paths, as sources also confirmed another incident that took place a year or two after the cruise, this time in a hotel lobby. The story that was told to me was that the two once again engaged in a heated exchange, which led to Jericho hurrying to the elevator and as the door closed saying, "I don't fight jobbers." So this is new information. So the first thing I thought of about the Jericho cruise, I'm like, okay, I was there. And for some reason, I have zero recollection of MVP being there. I met a lot of people. I didn't meet everyone, but I mostly saw everyone. If I didn't meet them, I at least saw them. And I don't recall seeing MVP anywhere on that boat. But he was there. He was there. I went and checked and everything. He definitely was. I just somehow never saw him, never interacted with him, never met him, nothing. Did not know he was there. Saw Chris Jericho and met him a bunch of times. Chris Jericho was very busy doing the podcast and stuff, and he was fine during all of the live shows and whatnot. But one thing I did notice, and I remembered on the final day, is when me and Elizabeth went in to meet him, and Jericho meets every guest on the cruise when you go on these cruises. So long line to kind of meet Jericho. You have a certain day that you go and do it. And I think ours was like on the last day. And when we met him, he was wearing sunglasses. And I'm like, was that to cover up a black eye? I don't even know. I went back and looked at the picture, and one eye does look darker than the other. I don't know if he got jacked in the eye or maybe just in the jaw or whatever, or maybe if the sunglasses thing was just a coincidence. But if Jericho got knocked out, that would imply that you would be punched in the face hard enough to knock you out, which is going to leave a mark of some kind. And I didn't see one on his face, but maybe it was on his eye. And that's interesting. Apparently, that was a wild cruise that I was a part of there 4 years ago. By the way, if you would like to see my full vlog and review of that cruise from 4 years ago, it's on my channel. Just go type in Jericho Cruise. You'll see it. A lot of extra bonus footage in a separate video I have too. If anyone's curious about what these cruises look like, I went. It was a blast. Unfortunately, there was a sexual assault and knockouts going on behind the scenes. And that's pretty funny that they got into it again in a hotel lobby. You know, Jericho can hold his own. You know, he took down Goldberg. He got in Brock Lesnar's face. Jericho's not really afraid of anybody, but MVP is like a trained combat fighter. And I wouldn't be fucking with MVP if I'm Chris Jericho. But that's hilarious that happened and that he got knocked the F out by MVP. Love that story. Things are not all bad in AEW land, though. This week, Warner Brothers Discovery touted a banner year in a press release that they put out. And I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but one interesting little paragraph in that said this, and I quote, AEW programs across TBS and TNT in 2023 ranked in the top 10 of all cable programs among adults under 50 72 times, including 50 times for the top 5 program in that coveted demo. And there was 5 or 6 paragraphs that basically the gist of it was Warner Brothers is very happy with the numbers that AEW has been doing for them. And a lot of fans, you know, the WWE rumors aside, I personally don't believe WWE and Warner Brothers Discovery are going to do business. But before that rumor even happened, I have not had any sort of concern for AEW re-upping their TV deal. You know, I feel like they're going to be fine. Even if something crazy did happen, like WWE came in and got on TNT and AEW had to go somewhere else, they'll find a deal somewhere. But I never really felt they were going to leave Warner Brothers Discovery. There's a lot of synergy there between those two entities, and there has been from the very, very start. And AEW, Warner Brothers Discovery, has always seemed like they've wanted and desired more content from AEW with the Collision and the Backstage show and Rampage. And everything else they've done, it seems like they've always been very happy with AEW programming, even when the ratings dipped below 800,000, which I believe it did this week. They dipped below 800,000. Overall, I think Warner Brothers Discovery has always been happy with the AEW product, and I've never really felt otherwise about it. So this is a little kind of reassurance there that I think maybe they're waiting to see where WWE goes. And as we're going to talk about in a minute, but WWE potentially going to Amazon Prime, maybe with that rumor or story coming out that they might be the front runner, maybe that now, you know, Warner Brothers Discovery, any possibility of them working with WWE is completely off the table now. So they're back focused on AEW, wanted to tout all their great numbers before announcing an extension with their TV rights deal. I don't know, but it's pretty good sign that Warner Brothers is happy with the performance. by AEW, and I fully expect them to, easily get another TV rights deal, and hopefully it will bring the increases that AEW was hoping to get so they can start, turning a profit at some point as well. And WWE, it has been talked about this week that, again, no confirmation or, any super credible, I guess credible confirmation of this. I think it's just rumors at this point, but WWE is reportedly believed to possibly go to Amazon Prime for Monday Night Raw. They have kind of emerged as the front runner here. And Amazon Prime already has, I think, NFL football. However, WWE leaving cable TV, Raw leaving cable TV after 31 years would just be wild. The longest running episodic cable TV show or whatever that nonsense that Michael Cole says every week. Can he say that now if they go to Amazon Prime? Because now they're off cable completely for the first time really ever, because before Monday Night Raw, it was primetime wrestling, and WWE has been on the USA Network since like 1983, man. So the fact that they could be leaving, Raw could be leaving USA and going to Amazon Prime, I personally am fine with it because I can access it. I don't really care. I can access it just fine as long as I can get to it and watch it live. At this point, I'm not going to care too much where it is. But I feel like WWE could have a decrease in viewership with SmackDown leaving Fox and going to USA, because Raw does not do the numbers that SmackDown did on Fox. They're going to take a decrease there, automatically moving away from network TV on Fox and going to the USA Network. Now you take their flagship show, essentially their A show, and you put it on a streaming service now. I feel like, how are you even going to measure the ratings for that now? I don't even know how that works. And I don't know. It doesn't make me feel very good that Raw could be leaving. At the end of the day, it's not going to matter. We can all still watch it. We can all still access it. Not a big deal. But being on a streaming app instead of cable is a little weird, although I know just the world and society in general is moving away from cable. Some people don't even have cable. I don't have cable. I have a streaming app that plays cable channels, but it's not like cable. I don't have a cable service. It's just an app. So I think a lot of people are getting away from that anyway. So if I had to go to Amazon Prime to watch Raw, for me personally, no big deal. I mean, most people have Prime. Why would you not? All the free shipping and shit you get. So it's not even like you would probably have to subscribe to another service. Most, but not all, but I think most people have Amazon Prime, probably more than not. Just like most people probably have Netflix and things like that. So hopefully this wouldn't result in more fans having to shell out more money. Hopefully this will be something that they already have and they can just start watching Raw on that and it won't cost them any more. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I kind of want an answer. I'm ready to learn where WWE's programming is going to be in the next 10 months, because I think in October is when these changes are going to take effect. And we don't really know where Raw is going to be yet, and it might be Amazon Prime. If I had a vote, I would keep it right on USA Network, but that's probably not going to be very likely with SmackDown now being there on Fridays. So we will see. I feel like WWE, it's not about the viewership. It's about the money. I think they are going to take the deal that gives them the most money. I just think that's what they're doing. So Amazon Prime, a lot of people might point out reasons why that could be harmful to WWE's programming, but when they're giving you the billions of dollars they're giving you, I don't think WWE is going to worry too much about that in terms of the money they're going to be bringing in. It sounds like it's just about maximizing profits. And if that's the case, and if that's priority numero uno, then Amazon Prime will probably be where they're going to land. And that's kind of sad. I just want to know where they're going to be. That's all. A couple of injuries I want to get into real quick. CJ Perry still dealing with that gnarly infection. I guess she's got some MRSA in her finger, and she's been very kind. It's so sweet of her and so thoughtful to show us what the inside of her finger, the bone and the flesh and the slimy yellow stuff looks like. And she's very nice to continue to show that to us. She's too good to us, I'll tell you what, that CJ Perry. But no, in all seriousness, we wish her the best. She is back in the hospital. She tweeted out this yesterday. Today, the surgeon told me she needs to see more blood or I'll need a second surgery. Thank you for your love. And that's kind of scary because she had it unbandaged. It was pretty brown looking. So I guess there's not enough blood flowing in there. And then if there's not, they might have to go back in and clear out some more. I hope this does not result in her losing this finger, because I think, I am genuinely concerned for CJ and her middle digit there. I hope she doesn't have to lose it. And we just wish her the best as she continues that nasty infection. And Cora Jade, want to wish her the best too. Apparently she was injured in an NXT house show last night, injured potentially her leg or knee, was carried off by several doctors. No word, at least that I saw today, about the extent of that injury. If you guys know anything about it, please let me know in the chat. Hopefully that had nothing to do with a tear of any kind. If we're looking at ACL or anything like that, Cora is going to be out close to a year. That would suck. Hopefully whatever's wrong with her, it's okay. And our thoughts are with not only CJ Perry, but Cora Jade as well. Let me go to the chat. I haven't said anything to you guys in a few minutes, and see if there's anything else I need to talk to you guys about. I want to answer a couple of super chats. JJ Leg, good to see you. Rock versus Roman at 41 after Cody wins at 40. No, maybe. I'd rather see Rock and Roman at 41 than Cody and Roman at 41, but I still feel like it's a ways off. A little too far. I don't know. Rock's like 90. WWE fan, appreciate the $5. At WrestleMania 20 and 30 was a triple threat main event. Could we get Rock, Cody, and Roman at 40? I don't hate the idea. If you could have Cody pin The Rock. WWE fan, I talked about that scenario earlier. I don't want to see it. I know that 20 and 30, we had those triple threats. It's kind of a tradition, but Cody and Roman, Cody's story and Rock and Roman's head of the table story don't need to overlap. They just don't. They're big to stand on their own, big enough to stand on their own. And my biggest concern is just WWE finding a way to get them both done that doesn't damage or ruin anything. And I am choosing, and I might be foolishly choosing this, admittedly, but I'm choosing to have faith in Triple H. I'm choosing faith. It's not something you're going to hear come out of my mouth very often. Greg chooses faith. For real? No, I am. I'm choosing faith. I'm choosing my faith in Triple H that he's not going to sabotage the story with Cody that they've worked so hard to tell, all for The Rock. I just can't envision that universe. I can't. Let me see who else we got. Whoa, I was way behind on these. Good to see everybody. Thank you to everyone. Welcome, Zombie Fighter, my shoot brother in the house. Thanks for joining up, my friend. Jericho needs to eat the pin tonight. Yeah, I feel like he should too. Right on. Okay, I just wanted to kind of get a lay of the land there. What did I see that about MVP? MVP denied it happened? I did not see that MVP denied it happened. Well, I don't know if it happened or not, but whatever went on is pretty funny that apparently those two guys have beef. Right on, Jacob. Thanks. Oh, you know what, Jay? I used your link again last night. I was home again on a Friday night, 2 weeks in a row, which is very rare for me. And Zombie Fighter hooked me up with a great Smackdown streaming link because here on the West Coast, I can't watch Smackdown live. I have to wait until 8 p.m. local time, which is 3 hours after it airs. So you hooked me up with an awesome link there. It worked both weeks. Appreciate it. And I'll probably continue to use it in the future. Let's talk quickly about last week's Monday Night Raw. We had some fun things go down on that show, like the Seth Rollins and Jinder Mahal promo that I referenced earlier with the Tony Khan stuff. And I thought Jinder Mahal looked really good in the promo. I thought he came off very strong. And what I do like about these two, is that, correct me if I'm wrong, these were the finalists. This was the finalist in the NXT title tournament or whatever it was, right? Seth Rollins beat Jinder Mahal to become the first ever NXT champion. So there is history between the two that I like. And Jinder, I thought, looked really strong in the promo. And that's when Seth Rollins basically just said, come on, take a swing at me. Let's do it right now. And he doesn't want to. Seth Rollins tries to leave, and Jinder attacks him from behind, and we kind of get a brawl. So we're going to be getting that match on Monday night, right? I need to, wanted to check something. But on Monday night, it's going to be Jinder and Seth for the title. And they've got a few other matches set for Monday as well. I just want to see them here, make sure I have them all in my head. Because one thing I think that is very possible is for maybe them to have some sort of a schmaz ending here. So we got Rollins and Jinder for the title. Gunther's returning. We have The Miz and R-Truth battling Balor and Priest. And we have Dirty Dom and JD McDonough to take on DIY. So that's kind of on tap so far. But Jinder and Seth, the main event, you have to wonder about that because we have the Royal Rumble coming up in just a couple of weeks. Seth Rollins currently doesn't have a challenger for that Royal Rumble. I thought it was going to be some blow off with McIntyre, but since he finally put McIntyre down, and that's all over with from last week, that now you wonder who he's going to work with. And now they're throwing him in there against Jinder, which is really crazy. And he's got a match against him on Raw. I don't see Jinder winning the championship. I can't see that happening at all. But let's just say on Monday, Seth just beats Jinder clean and wins. Okay, fine. But that makes me feel like Seth is not going to have a match at the Royal Rumble, if that was the case. And I find that hard to believe that he wouldn't have a match at the Rumble. You know what I mean? I know Roman has got his big fatal four-way, so Roman's belt is on the line. Maybe they feel like Seth's doesn't need to be. Seth can have this one off. I might think that way if it was an in-between pay-per-view, but this is the Rumble. This is a big four. So I would be surprised if Rollins wasn't defending his title unless they did something where he kind of like observed and watched the show, because I think one thing about Seth is he's been a very fighting champion, and maybe they give him this night off or something like that just because of all the times he's worked, times he's put the title on the line, worked his ass off. Roman's never there at all, so they're going to give Roman's title the spotlight on the show. That could happen. Another thing we could see is we see, perhaps Damian Priest come in to try to cash in. Now, I feel like with Monday Night Football not quite being done, I don't know if Monday would be the place we would see a cash in. But I also feel like they have big plans for that briefcase with Damian Priest. I feel like WWE kind of has an idea in their head where they want him to cash this thing in. And I feel like WrestleMania is still a very likely possibility for Damian Priest. But if for any reason it's not, and WWE is looking at that briefcase as more of an obstacle than a tool, maybe they can be like, all right, look, Priest, here's what we're going to do. You're going to win the world title, but you're going to win it later this year. We're going to do the briefcase thing early. We're going to have you show up on Raw with the briefcase, cash in on Jinder and Seth. Like Seth has got Jinder beat. Maybe he does beat Jinder, and then Priest comes in, cashes in on Seth Rollins, wins the title on Raw, and then you book Rollins and Priest at the Rumble for the title. Priest defends against Rollins. Rollins wins the belt back. Now Priest, even though he had a 2-week run, he's a former champion. Belts off of him already. Fans, of course, are pissed. Oh, they screwed over Damian Priest and all of that. You just wait a little bit of time, get on the other side of WrestleMania, and then Damian Priest wins the title this summer or something like that and gets it back. And now he's a 2-time champion. That's kind of getting off track there, but you could see something like that. But I do like the idea of perhaps Seth Rollins not having a match at the Royal Rumble, because I don't know what you do. If you don't have a rematch with Jinder, because I do think you could have a DQ where Punk can get involved, Priest can get involved, they could both get involved, big schmaz, DQ, something like that. Adam Pearce comes out and says, no, we're going to rebook this match at the Rumble. And it's going to be Rollins defending against Jinder Mahal. That would be a weak match for the Royal Rumble, but back in 2004, we got Brock Lesnar and Bob Holly. It would kind of be like the same thing. Or do you just give Seth Rollins the night off, and let's say he watches from the skybox at the Royal Rumble, from one of the press boxes or sky boxes up there. And between now and the Rumble, this week on TV, next week on TV, just more incidents between Punk and Rollins, getting under each other's skin even more. Punk and Rollins hate each other. Punk and Rollins' hate for each other is stronger than it's ever been, type of thing. And then you do the Royal Rumble, CM Punk wins the Rumble, and then as the winner traditionally would climb to the ropes and point at the WrestleMania sign when Pyro goes off, instead of pointing to the Mania sign, he points to Seth Rollins, signifying and indicating that's who he's going to challenge. Because if Punk wins the Rumble or Cody wins the Rumble, like I said earlier, there shouldn't be any decision tour. They don't need to go to Raw and SmackDown first and think about it, who they're going to challenge. They know who they're going to challenge. If Punk wins, he wants Seth. If Cody wins, he wants Roman. There should be zero hesitation whatsoever for either of these men if they are to win the Royal Rumble. They don't need to announce it on Raw, on SmackDown, delay it another week, announce it right there after the fucking match, right there on the mic, or just point to your opponent, one or the other. Just do that. So that could work. That would actually be fine if they did that. We'll see what happens on Monday, but it's kind of cool to see Jinder Mahal back in the mix. And like I said, Tony Khan's little tweet fit that he had the other day might actually create this groundswell of support for Jinder Mahal. We just don't know. We'll have to see. Also on Monday Night Raw, we saw a little promo between Rhea Ripley and Nia Jax. This is making me think that we're going to see that at Elimination Chamber. That could be your main event for Elimination Chamber. Probably not, but Rhea in her home country, Australia, Perth, defending the title against Nia Jax, who's been built up. Huge win over Becky Lynch just the other week. So maybe that's part of that, to build her up as a credible opponent for Rhea Ripley to beat in her home country. That's the way I'm feeling like that's going to go. And props to WWE for not making me hate Nia Jax. They have used her perfectly. I wanted nothing to do with her. Even with the rumors of her coming back to the company before she did, I'm like, ugh, I don't want anything to do with her. I saw her at, she came to the same restaurant as us during WrestleMania weekend. I didn't even want to walk by her table. So I wanted nothing to do with her. Now that she's back, oh, and she was next to Bret Hart at WrestleCon, and I didn't even make eye contact with her. So I've been very anti-Nia Jax. But since she has come back, her use has been magnificent. Absolutely great. So I feel like that's where they're going there. Highlight of the week for me was the R-Truth video package on Monday night. I think we can all agree on that. R-Truth talking about and chronicling his history with the Judgment Day, this nice music playing as they show classic moments in Judgment Day's history with R-Truth photoshopped into everything. They even had the old Judgment Day 1998 VHS tape with the Undertaker on the cover with R-Truth's face photoshopped into that. He calls Dominic Mysterio Tom and Nick Mysterio, which is just hilarious. He's like, Rhea, Damian, Tom and Nick Mysterio, even though I've never met Nick. It's just fucking great. That was just so beautifully done. The little picture with all the little mini versions of them. Fucking adorable. Loved that. And also on Raw, probably the biggest match that we saw on the show was Cody Rhodes finishing his story against Shinsuke Nakamura finally. They had a pretty good match here. This looked to be like an anything goes type of thing. And Cody won after he sidestepped a Kinshasa, and Nakamura came in pretty fast. Cody sidestepped him, and Nakamura just exploded through the table that was propped up in the corner. Cody grabbed him, boom, crossroads for the win. Big win. I love Cody. I mean, I'm happy that at my age and watching wrestling this long, I can actually see a white meat babyface that I like. I really do. I mean, I kind of had John Cena's back in the day too, but he brought so much, anger and hate from the audience. Cody's a little bit different. He feels like somebody who's legitimately over, and he feels like he should be WWE's guy. He feels like he should be the guy to face Roman on night 2 of WrestleMania. That's my opinion on that. SmackDown last night wasn't a bad show either, pretty decent. It opened up with a match that was supposed to be Cameron Grimes versus Grayson Waller, but Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso attacked them in the entranceway, and then they come out to the ring. Theory and Waller are in the ring. They leave. Nick Aldis comes out all pissed off, and I am loving the vibe of Nick Aldis. How great is it that WWE's authority figure roles were so played out and so useless for so long? And now, not only do we have one, but we have 2 very strong, very good authority figures in WWE, with Adam Pearce, who's been doing a great job now for a couple of years, and Nick Aldis added to the mix last year, who's been a great authority figure. And he comes out, and what I like about him the most is he's not taking any bullshit at all from the bloodline. Not taking it from Heyman, not taking it from Roman, not taking it from his family. He is fearless in that regard. And that's why, and that's when he got on the mic and told Paul Heyman, the Fatal 4-Way is a done deal. Last week when Roman told Paul Heyman to fix this, Heyman can't really fix this because Nick Aldis is not going to bend an inch on this. So he said the Fatal 4-Way is a done deal, and the Bloodline is done ruining matches. That ends now. So tonight in the main event, your two guys, Solo and Jimmy, are going to face all three of Roman Reigns' Royal Rumble opponents, Randy Orton, AJ Styles, LA Knight, in a handicap match. So that freaks him out. So it freaks everybody out, but Solo, he doesn't care. And all night long, Paul Heyman's trying to go around recruiting people to join his guys. He gave Carlito an apple. He went and talked to Pretty Deadly. He went and talked to Bobby Lashley. And nobody's having any of it. So we would see them come back out later for the main event, and it would be a handicap match, but the Bloodline decided to attack Randy Orton during the entrances. So they take him out, making it a 2-on-2 match again with Jimmy and Solo taking on LA Knight and AJ Styles. But at the very end, Randy Orton comes back and helps him win the match anyway, and it was all for nothing. But the Bloodline down Randy Orton, had their backs up against the wall there, and it doesn't sound like they're going to be able to impose their will with a GM like Nick Aldis at the helm. And I'm loving how assertive Nick Aldis is with his job. And we'll see. I mean, eventually it's probably going to lead to him having a match. A lot of people have speculated that Nick Aldis could actually face Randy Orton at WrestleMania. Maybe we could get that. I don't know. There has already been an RKO there, so we could get that. But at some point, it feels like Aldis will have to get in the ring. But at the same time, he's doing so well in that authority figure role. I don't know if you want to risk hurting that role by having a GM that gets in the ring every now and then. I really like Aldis in his role so far. We had Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza, who are back on the main roster now. They're now affiliated with Santos Escobar as the new LWO, the Legado World Order. They're taking on the old LWO of Wild and Del Toro. So during the match, Carlito's music hits because Santos is on commentary, and he comes out and brawls with Santos, leaving the combatants in the ring kind of distracted, allowing Angel Garza to roll up Joaquin Wilde for the win there in kind of a flat finish, but a situation that still has a lot of interesting aspects to it now that Santos is forming kind of like a heel faction. And with Andrade set to come back in at some point, you got to think he's going to be a part of this somehow, whether he comes back at the Royal Rumble or if he shows back up on SmackDown. I feel like whatever he does, I hope that they put Zelina Vega back with him because I think they're a perfect pair. And looking forward to Andrade showing back up on TV eventually to probably get involved in this here situation. So we will see. We also had a really interesting little segment the WWE tried. It kind of resembled what they did on Raw a few weeks ago with Caden Carter and the other one at the nightclub. And they ran into Chelsea and Piper and they get drinks in their face. And it was brutal. One of the cringiest fucking things I've ever seen watching wrestling. I hated every single solitary second of that segment. Last night on SmackDown, they try again to do something a little different. This time it's Tyler Bate and Butch getting coffee together. Just happens to be a camera crew there as they're getting coffee and having a private conversation, in front of a camera crew, as one does. So they're talking, and it's just an odd setup. I'm fine with WWE trying new things. I'm fine with it. They want to try different camera setups or different environments to tell their stories. Wrestling always has to evolve. You have to try things. Sometimes things aren't going to work. Sometimes they do. So far, I feel like not great so far. The nightclub thing with Katana and What's-Her-Face was terrible. This wasn't much better, but what made up for it was the fact that it felt like they were teasing the return of Pete Dunne, which we've all been wondering when Peter Dunne is going to be coming back. This Butch shit has been going on way too long. He's long since dropped the suspenders and the hat and the whole getup, and he's kind of back to being the bruiserweight. And we've been saying that in the podcast. At what point did they just change his name back to Peter Dunne? Because that's who he is. And it sounds like Triple H is finally doing that. I like that it wasn't just like overnight where just on WWE's website, he was changed back to Pete Dunne. I like how Triple H is doing this. He's acknowledging that he used to have another name and he needs to find the name that can help him grow and evolve. And whatever Tyler Bates said, he was helping Butch get back to Pete Dunne. I kind of like that. The segments, they could probably use some work, because one thing that Triple H and wrestling fans and WWE needs to remember is that 97% of wrestlers can't act for shit. Every time they're put in a situation where they have to try to be emotional or act, most of the times it looks terrible. It's terrible. It's fucking terrible. So only a few wrestlers kind of have that natural ability to, kind of draw you in where you don't really look at them as somebody who's acting. And then this was just way too much acting. And I think wrestlers need to act because that is part of their job, but putting them in a situation where their size, their presence, their charisma can't shine through, it's just acting. I don't know. I don't know. It just didn't come off right to me. Neither one of those segments did, but I didn't really care because Peter Dunne's coming back, and that's what's important. Bayley and Bianca, hell of a match last night as well. Pretty good. These two always work well together. KOD to Bayley for the win there, but all of Damage Control was at ringside for that. And at one point, Bianca got thrown to the outside by Bayley right in front of Damage Control. Bayley then distracts the referee, so the ref's back is turned, and Damage Control does nothing to Bianca. Doesn't attack her, nothing. She gets back in the ring, regains control, KOD for the win backstage. Bayley questions Damage Control, where the fuck were you? And Dakota was like, dude, the ref was right there. That she would have seen us. We thought you had this. We thought you could do it on your own. More dissension, more seed planting there. The Damage Control seems to be the four of them, and Bayley is kind of on the outside. She's the Brian Pillman to their Hart Foundation. And it does, make you wonder. We're still not done talking about Mercedes and Sasha Banks and where she could land. It still feels like AEW is the likely landing spot, but WWE and AEW have traded spots of being the likely landing spot for her a couple of times. Still no confirmation. Royal Rumble is coming up in just a couple of days or a couple of weeks, and WWE is really leaning into this idea that Bayley is going to be ousted out of this faction at some point by Io Sky and company. And that's when you have to wonder if a friend could be there to pick her up, and Sasha would be in perfect position to come in and do that. So I feel like Mercedes and AEW or Sasha and WWE both can be good, and both are intriguing to me almost like equally. I'd like to see both. I think both would be a lot of fun. So wherever she lands and goes, I'm probably going to be fine with. But again, it's one of those situations where I would kind of like to know. I would like to know where we would see Mercedes, because it feels like she could fit in pretty well right now to both companies, and that's good for her. So we'll see when exactly Bayley gets booted out of Damage Control. Kevin Owens responded to Logan Paul. Logan Paul and Kevin Owens both had on-screen promos on each other. Logan was spotting a black eye, said he's going to sue Kevin Owens like the bitch that he is. So Owens is like, man, it's just a cast, man. I knew you were going to do that. I just knew what you were going to do. So why don't we just meet next week? Because I guess they were in Arkansas last night. Nobody wants to go there. So next week, it's going to be face-to-face in the ring, Owens and Logan Paul. Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits came out to the ring. They were going to respond to the attack from the Authors of Pain last week. Didn't get a re-emergence from them. We just had Paul Ellering coming out to the stage by himself, pointing to the screen, and they ran a Karrion Kross video package. When I forgot what the name of they named the faction there. I forgot what it was called, though. As a matter of fact, I think Lashley and the Profits are set to debut a name soon, too. I believe that's going to be the Pride. At least that's what the rumors are, but I don't think they were calling them last night, the Pride, quite yet. But Cross's group, I think, does have a name. I just didn't write down what it was, so more teasing there. Good stuff. Carmelo Hayes and Austin Theory went one-on-one. I think this match was to qualify for the Royal Rumble, if I'm not mistaken, because Melo was talking to Nick Aldis backstage. He was interrupted, so I guess he got this match against Austin Theory. The winner would get entered into the Royal Rumble, I believe. Unfortunately, we did not get a winner. The two of them went for, I guess, like a Spanish fly off the top, and both landed very awkwardly on the top of their heads. And the referee had zero hesitation whatsoever, immediately put up the X sign, called for the bell, and the match ended due to a referee stoppage. Now, this is the second time in as many weeks that this has happened. A week or so ago on Raw, Giovanni Vinci caught a kick from Kofi Kingston right to the head, went down, didn't get up. Referee stopped the match, and I think that's fantastic. that WWE, this is two examples now of them putting safety first. Because even on live TV, it's one thing if it's a house show, you can just better safe than sorry. But on live TV, we've seen it in the past, over the years. Sometimes you get a little confused, a little flustered, not sure what to do. We've seen some horrendous situations throughout the years of people getting injured in the ring and then the work and the wrestlers still wrestling around them. Who was it in, was it Paul Orndorff? Who was it in WCW that got hurt in the ring and the whole match just happened around him? I forgot who that was, but I know Rey Mysterio was a part of that match. And there's been so many times where sometimes someone gets their bell rung and you're not sure. AEW's had a few instances with this, with Matt Hardy taking the bump and getting the concussion and them not stopping it, things like that. So it's good that, you're seeing examples where safety is the number one priority, because even on live TV, when you're not sure what to do, no hesitation, just stop the match. We'll deal with it. Safety is more important. The wrestler's safety and well-being is more important than if it's going to fuck up the timing with our commercials or whatever. So just do what you got to do there. And they did. Again, I think Spanish flies are very dangerous. And, to me, this is not about, those shitty fucking insert promotion name botches accounts. I've even gone through and unfollowed people who follow accounts like that because I think it's so cheap and pathetic. So the botch accounts are all in bad faith, because everything, a lot of people were talking about the Darby bump. Oh, this company's so unsafe. Look at the bump he took on the ropes. Bitch, who's the company that had to have 2 ref stoppages in as many weeks? Not AEW, the other one, but it doesn't matter. It's about the safety. It's the safety concerns. It's the wrestler's well-being. And it was really reassuring and comforting to see that when something like that happens, WWE does not take any chances with that, and they just stopped the match last night. And apparently Mello and Theory are both okay from what we understand. I don't think either one suffered a neck injury or a concussion, but when you go back and watch that replay, it's a nasty bump. And I think guys just need to be a little more careful. Wrestling is wrestling. It's so stupid to attack a promotion for a botch or a dangerous moment because it's wrestling. When you're flipping and landing on your head every 5 fucking seconds, accidents are going to happen. And as we've seen, and as it's proven time and time again, botches and accidents and injuries are not exclusive to one promotion. You fucking idiots. Happens everywhere, always has, every promotion, every decade, every territory from the beginning of fucking time. And that will never change. What's good to see is companies putting safety first. And I think AEW, that's something they can work on when they have an injury or a concussion or something, just to not hesitate. And they've been pretty good with that. The Hangman Page one, remember, he went down and I think they stopped that match, right? But then they've also had some situations where they maybe weren't putting safety first, where now it seems like that seems to be a company-wide edict in WWE. If somebody gets their bell rung or you're unsure if somebody can go, it's over. The match is over and we deal with it later. That's good to see. So best of luck to Mello and Theory. Hopefully they will not suffer any lasting effects from that. So that was your SmackDown last night in a nutshell. Not bad. The Royal Rumble card looks like this so far. Fatal 4-way, Roman defending against AJ Orton and LA Knight. We have Kevin Owens challenging Logan Paul for his U.S. title, and we may or may not be getting a Seth Rollins world title match. We also have the Women's Rumble and the Men's Rumble. I'm going to make a prediction right here, right now. And again, I have no evidence of this. I have no sources to cite. I am completely unaware of the situation with this individual's recovery, but I'm still going to make a prediction that we see the return of Big E in the Royal Rumble. Remember 4 years ago, 2020, Edge's big moment, a moment that still sticks with me as probably one of the best feeling returns ever. Just the emotion behind it, knowing Edge's story, coming back after all that time, the look on his face as he came through the cloud of smoke, like, holy shit, I'm here, I'm doing it. That is burned into my wrestling brain, tattooed on it. And it's one of my favorite Rumble moments of all time. I wasn't sure upon seeing that moment if that was something emotionally that could ever be topped. Except for one. And I think if we heard Big E's music at the Royal Rumble, and by the way, we're going to be doing a live watch party. you're probably going to see your boy cry. It's going to be hard not to if he were to come out. And I think we haven't heard a lot about him lately. WWE has kind of been just treading water with Kofi and Xavier. They haven't like if WWE thought that Big E was just never going to be able to come back, he's retired because of what happened with him, which might very well be the case. I hope it's not, but there is still a very likely chance Big E never wrestles again. If WWE already knows that, and they know that he's probably not going to come back, or if he is, it's a long time off, I feel like they might want to just do something else with Kofi and Xavier. You know what I mean? Wouldn't you think? Like the New Day is not going to be doing much. They're only 2/3 of the day, and they've already been together for 10 years. At this point, you're just keeping them together for the sake of keeping them together. They're just going to be mechanics on the show now used to maybe enhance and elevate and get other guys over, which is all fine if that's the role that they're in. But I feel like you could get some more mileage out of Kofi and especially Xavier if you did a little bit something different with them. Maybe the reason they're not doing anything different with them and they still come out to the New Day music and all of that is because they know there will be an eventual reunion of all three New Day members. And maybe they're saving that for the Royal Rumble. Maybe Big E has quietly been cleared and he hasn't said anything about it. Maybe he's known since last summer and maybe he's been working out all this time and they want to bring him back in the Rumble and give the fans that moment. The only problem with Big E coming back, a lot of fans might think he would have to win, but Edge didn't win. I think Big E can come back and give us the moment, still get tossed out over the top rope. I think that would be fine. I would not be upset. I would not feel like Big E was wronged or anything like that. To me, it's about the moment. It's about the love. Seeing him come out, surprising the fans, I feel would just bring the same level of emotion that Edge did when he came back. And my early prediction is that we see him. It is. Again, I'm going on nothing. I'm basing this on nothing. I could 100% be wrong. I probably am. But I'm going to predict that he comes back and that we watch his return together. So join us in a couple of weeks. I'll have the link up to our watch party very soon. We'll see if I'm correct on that. Let's talk a little bit about AEW Dynamite Homecoming this past Wednesday from Daly's Place. Was pretty good. I watched most of this show. The only thing I screwed up, and I'm hoping you guys can help me with this, I deleted my DVR too early, and the one thing I did not see is I thought there was a Brody Lee video package or tribute of some kind. So since I deleted my DVR, I'm like, okay, no big deal. I went over to YouTube, to AEW's YouTube page. I even searched it. I can't find anything. Did they run a video package on Dynamite for Brody Lee? Or did I miss it? Or did it not happen at all? I can't even find it online. If the video package from Dynamite this week, Homecoming, does exist and it did run and it exists online, can you tweet me a link to it, please? Because I didn't see it. But the show opened up with Hangman Page defeating Claudio Castagnoli. Really fun match and really fun finish with Hangman hitting double buckshot lariats to put Claudio down. Hangman's kind of growing out his shit, looking a little more like Yosemite Sam or whatever with that mustache or that beard of his, which I like. And we would see Hangman come out later because Samoa Joe would come out to the ring as our new AEW champion. We did not see him last week. He does have a new championship, so they quietly put a new title on Samoa Joe. No big belt unveiling or anything like that. Looks largely like the old one did, just without the Burberry strap, and the faceplate might be a little fresher and newer, and you got Samoa Joe side plates on there. So he's out there with the belt, and he's basically putting everyone on notice. Swerve Strickland comes out to the ring with the Mogul Embassy, gets in Samoa Joe's face, indicating that he wants a shot at that title, which I think is great because I personally expect Swerve to be champion in 2024. I don't think Swerve is going to be champion at Revolution. I just think he's going to be champion this year. So I'm thinking more Double or Nothing and maybe even All In for someone like Swerve, but maybe not quite yet. But it is good to see him there in the mix, making his presence known. He's a title contender now, and he worked hard to get to that spot, and he needs to stay there. Hangman Page then came out and got in Swerve's face and says that he will get the title back. And then Swerve and Hangman kind of powder out, and Joe is back in the ring by himself. And that's when we get the Hook bat signal up on the wall. And then Hook comes out and gets in Joe's face, kind of implying that we're going to get a title match there. So we had Hangman, Swerve, and Hook all making their presence known to Samoa Joe. So I think Hook getting a title shot out of this whole deal would be great. Now, help me out. Did Hook make some sort of a challenger reference to Samoa Joe prior to this? Because Tony Khan's tweets about Jinder Mahal happened before Dynamite, where he referenced Hook calling out the champ at 28-1. But I didn't think Hook called out the champ until we got on Dynamite. So I don't know what he was talking about. And I also thought that maybe I probably just have something wrong here that I don't have written down properly. But I also thought that maybe what went on with the Jinder Mahal tweets was what made Tony Khan decide to put Hook in the middle of this. I don't know. But Hook getting a title shot from Samoa Joe, I think would be kind of cool. I hope we see that on TV or something. We will see. And we might even get some sort of three-way to determine a challenger. Not really sure yet, but Joe is going to have no shortage of challengers one way or the other. We also saw Sammy Guevara defeating Ricky Starks, one-on-one match here. Pretty good. Loved the Daily's Place atmosphere. I just really like that. Maybe it was a little more LED'd out for my liking, but just the Daily's Place, environment has always been really fun, and it was a really good homecoming setting, I thought, for AEW. But Guevara and Ricky Starks had a pretty good match, although kind of a flat finish. Guevara just hit a couple of super kicks on Ricky and then was able to kind of cradle him in for a 3 count there. Beats Ricky Starks. Goes in to give Ricky a handshake. The handshake lasts a little bit too long, and then Sammy is blasted from behind by Big Bill. He's attacked by the tag champs, and then Judas starts playing. Chris Jericho runs out and makes the save and is brawling with Big Bill and Ricky Starks, but AEW never stops playing Jericho's music. So we referenced that earlier when we talked about the Jericho stuff and the allegations, and you have to wonder if Jericho might have to take some sort of a leave of absence here, because how long can they keep this up? Are they going to have Fozzy play every time Jericho comes out to the ring? He has a big match tonight for the tag team titles at Battle of the Belts. So my belief is that Jericho and Sammy definitely need to lose tonight to Ricky Starks and Big Bill. And now that Jericho is finally done with all of his ongoing issues, once he loses this match, he can maybe disappear for a little while, or at least stay out of the limelight, spotlight TV until they figure out whatever needs to be done about these allegations. So we will see what kind of response he gets tonight, because they can't play Judas for the whole match. So the crowd is going to have to react to Jericho tonight. I believe they are in Virginia, I think, for Battle of the Belts tonight. So we'll see how the Virginia crowd treats Chris Jericho. I've watched Chris Jericho wrestle in Virginia. I watched him win the Intercontinental title, I believe, in Richmond one time against Benoit. So we'll see how they treat Jericho tonight at Battle of the Belts. But I feel like if they lose, that Jericho needs to maybe go away for a while. Had a couple of interesting big 8-person tags, one with the women. Statlander, Willow, Thunder Rosa, and Anna Jay defeated Saraya, Soho, Julia Hart, and Sky Blue. Anna Jay pinned Sky Blue for the win there. And of course, Anna Jay was very close to Brody Lee as well. A lot of Brody Lee tributes throughout the night with the gear. I know Anna Jay was wearing some stuff. A lot of wrestlers tributed Brody in their matches or in their entrances, including Adam Copeland, Edge, who wore the Brody shirt in his entrance as well. And get a load of this team. Orange Cassidy, Preston Vance, Dustin Rhodes, and Adam Copeland. Holy foursome, Batman. Goldust and Edge. Do we have any Goldust and Edge matches in WWE that we can talk about or that have existed? Help me out here. I don't remember. I actually don't remember. So Dustin and Adam Copeland being on the same team is nuts. They're taking on Lance Archer. So we got Lance and Vance on opposite teams here. Brian Cage and the Gates of Agony. What I loved about this is that you have the champion Orange Cassidy and the 2 Hall of Fame legends, Dustin and Adam Copeland, letting Preston Vance get the win or get the pin. That's the way it should be. Loved that. And loved that Copeland is just in a random 8-man on Dynamite. He said he wanted to go in there and help. And, that might be a lot of, that might involve a lot of behind the scenes mentoring, guys getting a chance to share a ring with him, pick his brain backstage. this is something that Adam Copeland really seems to like, and might be a lot more well received of a personality than somebody like CM Punk was back there. So I'm glad that Copeland is there as a presence, because it feels like he really is, kind of into working with the youngins. And I like that about him, respect him. Roderick Strong defeated Brian Keith after the match. Adam Cole and the Undisputed Kingdom got in the ring, cutting a promo reminding us of their intentions. And Roderick's going to go after a championship, and Taven and Bennett are going to go after a title. And of course, Wardlow is going to win the title and submit it and forfeit it to Adam Cole. Like, that's going to happen. So we got a reminder about that. MJF is going to be off TV, obviously, for a while, dealing with his injuries. They have taken him off the alumni page in AEW, making you think that his contract is up and he's gone from the company. I'm pretty sure he re-signed a long time ago. He's going to be taking time off to heal up these injuries. And when he does come back, it should be pretty awesome, because he's going to make a beeline right for the Undisputed Kingdom when he does. The main event was all kinds of fun. Holy crap. Sting and Darby Allin taking on Takeshita and Powerhouse Hobbs. They've been showing the Darby neck bump all week, and it was pretty gnarly. Don't get me wrong, but you have Takeshita and Hobbs swinging Darby like a jump rope from one corner, and they swing him, and as they let go of him, he spins in the air like he's doing fucking gymnastics and lands like into the second and bottom rope and just crinks his neck. Think of the spot on Raw in '99 when Chyna threw Vince over the top rope, and he almost like guillotined himself under the bottom rope. It was a lot like that, but maybe even a little bit worse, the way Darby kind of hit with his neck. I don't know how a human body takes a bump like that and doesn't have any after effects. I would imagine Darby Allin got somewhat injured on that spot. I don't know how you take that spot and you don't get injured. I don't know. Maybe it's some ploy by the AEW locker room to hurt Darby so he can't climb to Mount Everest and die. Maybe that's what the whole point of this is. I don't know. But that was really scary and a really, really gnarly bump. But you know what? That's what Darby does. Jeff Hardy used to scare the shit out of me too. Used to do things that I never thought any human being should even consider doing. And that's all Darby Allin does now. It's not because AEW's dangerous and reckless. It's who Darby is. Stevie Richards had all sorts of problems with this too on social media. He's another one like Bischoff that for some reason has a stick up his ass about AEW, and I don't know why. This fool worked for ECW, a company where, you have had some serious injuries. I don't want to bring any of them up, but they existed. Bad ones, life-changing injuries took place in that company, and here he's nitpicking about this stuff. Darby Allin is a wild wrestler. I recommend that all fans just accept that. Darby's crazy. Darby does crazy shit. Darby's always going to do crazy shit. You can't contain and control people like that. You just got to let them do crazy shit. Doesn't mean Tony Khan's reckless. Doesn't mean AEW's reckless. And if Darby was in WWE, it wouldn't mean that WWE's reckless. It means Darby is reckless and nuts, and he doesn't give a fuck, and he puts his body on the line every single match to entertain us. Just like Mick Foley did. Remember that guy, Mick Foley? Some of the crazy shit, flat back bumps onto concrete. He was doing that in front of 50 people at WCW house shows. So sometimes you just have a wrestler that likes to be nuts. Darby is going to be paying his own prices when he gets older, just like Jeff Hardy is, just like Mick Foley is with his body. These are personal choices. Maybe they wouldn't be choices we make. Maybe we wouldn't do this to our bodies, but Darby does, and he has the freedom and the right to wrestle a wild style if he so chooses. And that bump was scary, but it's what we've come to expect from Darby matches. It's the norm. So just accept it. Better off you'll be. The crazy bumps weren't done, though. 92-year-old Sting is battling with Will Hobbs. They go up the ramp, and now they're up over that little platform that's directly across from the ring, and where the video wall is, and they're kind of brawling that little narrow platform there, and then Sting grabs Hobbs into Scorpion death drop position, and there's two tables on the floor that were set up, I think, earlier, and he Scorpion death drops Hobbs off the platform back first and head first onto the concrete below. Sting then pins Hobbs for the win. Sting looked like he whacked his head on the floor as he came down, but he was well enough to stand in the ring with Tony Schiavone after the match. He seemed to be all right, although I did see Schiavone be like, take a breath. It's all right. Just get your bearings straight. So Sting might have had his bell rung a little bit, but this dude at his age doing this stuff is crazy. He's so close to retirement. This guy is Roger Murtaugh from the Lethal Weapon movies, like on the literal doorstep of retirement, but still insists on risking his life every minute of every day. I don't know why he does this. Sting is definitely not too old for this shit. So Sting wins. Sting and Darby win in a hellacious bump. So Darby took a nasty one. Sting took a nasty one. I'm glad we only have about 6 or 7 weeks left of Sting's career so he can finally end it without dying, because he's taken more risks in his AEW run than I think he ever did, in his first, 15, 20 years in the business. It's crazy. So after the match, they're all in the ring and Tony Schiavone's there, and he asks Sting if he's ready to reveal. He said, hey, March 1st is right around the corner. Who is going to be your final opponent? And before he can answer, we hear the music of the Young Bucks. Matthew, Nicholas, back on TV. They come out to the ramp looking like the world's biggest two douchebags in the world. Like, look at these two assholes with their mustaches and the hat, what they're wearing, Nick's white thing and the bare chest and the hat, and they've got these mustaches. Kids, I'm telling you, if Matt and Nick ever roll up in your neighborhood in a van and they open the door and they offer you a Mars bar to come inside, run as fast as you can because they're going to touch you. Oh my God. They look like the two biggest fucking creeps. Like if you just said, Siri, show me a picture of two assholes, it wouldn't even be two like literal assholes. It would just be them. Oh my God. And I loved it. That was the great thing. When I say, look at these two assholes, look at these two douchebags with their two douchey mustaches, I mean this as a compliment. One thing that Nick Jackson and Matt Jackson are phenomenal at doing is being assholes when they need to be. They come off like them. They look like them. They got punchable faces. Their whole entire aura and demeanor just screams asshole. And that's perfect. That might be just what they need, what we need for Sting's final match. And coming out to the ramp and staring at the two of them, there was like this long pause, or not pause, but their music just continued to play. And then Sting and Darby were just looking at him. Like a lot of people brought up that it would have been better if you just went off the air. Are they going to be Sting's final opponents? We'll find out next week, and then fade to black. But there was this like long kind of awkward staring match between the four guys that I didn't really understand. And it kind of implies that the Young Bucks might be the opponents for Sting and Darby Allin in Sting's final match. We don't even know that yet, but I don't know why the Bucks would come out there and they would do this whole thing if maybe that wasn't going to be the plan. And if that's the case, I'm fine with anything. I am fine with it. Sting's final match is Sting's final match. And I promise you, Sting has a say in who his opponents are. People are so anti-AEW that some of the first things I was seeing online, oh, there's no way that was his call, not his decision. Boy, they're doing him dirty. And I'm like, what? Do you have such a hate boner for this company that you just let all logic fly out the door? Think about how Sting has been treated since he's been in AEW. AEW has used Sting, in my opinion, better than any company has ever used a legend ever, including AEW. They've had other legends too. None of them have been used as well as Sting. Sting has had such an excellent little farewell tour. When he came back in 3 years ago, I didn't think he was going to do much, be a manager, maybe get in the ring and wrestle with all his clothes on a couple of times here and there. I had no idea the dude was going to be wrestling relatively regularly, working pay-per-views, taking bumps. He certainly wasn't out there phoning anything in. He was out there going balls out. He was undefeated, right? For his entire AEW run. Has he ever lost a match there? Certainly hasn't lost one on pay-per-view, and I don't think he's lost one ever at all. So what you're telling me is he comes into the company, Tony Khan is a massive fan, massive mark for Sting, comes in, uses him brilliantly, never allows him to lose, and treats and presents Sting like the absolute total and complete fucking icon that he is. And then at the very end, when he comes down to his last match, Tony Khan's going to be like, oh, by the way, Sting, fuck you. You're going to wrestle who I say. Does that sound at all logical to you? No, it doesn't. So without knowing the situation, without even reading or hearing about any backstage rumblings about Sting's final opponent, I can promise you that Tony Khan is going to allow him to have a say in who his final opponent or opponents are. Absolutely 1,000,000,000,000%. And if Sting and Darby if Sting wants his last match to be with Darby, that's what I'm saying. Like if Sting wants his last match to be side by side with Darby, little passing of the torch moment for this kid. And plus it's a tag team match, which can probably be a lot better and won't put Sting in there for the entire match. And Darby can do his thing. What better opponents, really, when you think about it, than one of the best, most celebrated tag teams in history, and a tag team that was very instrumental and crucial to the formation of AEW to begin with, which is where Sting is finishing up his match. And maybe that's something that AEW would want for the Bucks legacy as well. And Sting, I promise you, doesn't have the personal issues with the Bucks that everybody else does. Sting seems to like working there and has had nothing but positive things to say about his employers and his coworkers, and has stayed largely out of the drama there. So I don't really think he's got a dog in any of these fights, really. And if the Young Bucks are going to face Sting and Darby Allin, I promise you Sting's fine with it. There's no way Sting is against this. This is not a Kurt Angle versus Baron Corbin situation. That's been the only retirement match that I've ever complained about, because we know Baron Corbin wasn't Kurt Angle's choice. Kurt Angle has told us this. Now, in a year's time, when AEW and Sting have parted ways and Sting does a podcast, if he says, oh, they made me face the Bucks, then okay, I'll eat crow. I just don't think that's going to happen. And I don't think that's the case. I feel like Sting and Darby working with the Bucks are fine. A lot of people said it should have been FTR. The FTR match would have been fine, but they've already worked together too. I think Sting and Darby and the Bucks can put together a great match, but at the end of the day, I don't even fucking care. When it comes to a legend, the caliber of Sting, someone that's been wrestling and put as many years and decades into this business as he has, it is not up to me who he faces. It's up to him. And whoever he faces, I'm going to accept out of respect for the career that this guy has had. You realize I was 10 when this guy debuted in the ring? I'm 46 now. He's had a 36-year-long career. And we got these little fucking turds on social media, people born after WCW closed down, trying to tell this guy who he should wrestle in his retirement match. Are you fucking high? Are you fucking high? I have no problem with the Bucks wrestling Sting. And on top of that, it's going to be in North Carolina. It's going to be in Greensboro. Sting is going to be super over already as it is going into that match. And what better opponents to beat than two guys that have got a ton of fucking internal online heat with the online fan base and present themselves as monumental mustache sporting douchebags to the TV audience. And that would be a lot of fun. Sting pinning one of those two guys would be great for the fans, great for Sting. It would be huge for the Young Bucks. Hey, we get to say we had Sting's final match. You know, and honestly, I think the Bucks might have a little bit more pull with Tony Khan than FTR does. FTR is close with CM Punk, and I think FTR could one day head back to WWE, perhaps, where the Bucks are, you know, a little bit more ingrained into, you know, AEW and their legacy and all of that. And I feel like it probably is a win-win all the way around. But I don't think that this is not something that Sting wanted. Maybe there was a conversation. Maybe this was Tony Khan's idea that he sold Sting on. That's possible. I don't know if Sting necessarily handpicked his opponents, but I certainly don't believe that Sting has a problem with this. And I think a lot of people with the hate boners are going to be quick to jump to that conclusion. There's no way he decided that. Give me a break, you know? Like, God, they've treated him so well. They've treated Sting so well. To fuck him over at the very end makes no logical sense whatsoever. AEW wants to celebrate Sting. They want to cement his legacy, and they want to be the place where Sting had his final match. And if AEW ever does start a Hall of Fame, I think Sting could be a good first inductee, much like he was the first one in TNA, or at least I think he was. So I have no issue with it, man. I have no issue. I don't know why it's such a debated topic. You know, when a legend retires, as long as they're in the ring with who they want to be in the ring with, I'm not going to say shit about it, because it's disrespectful. It's their career. It's their end. It's going to be their match. and it's up to Sting what he does. So I am not going to push back on it at all. Like I said, unless we learn a year from now that it was not Sting's choice, but I doubt that. So that was pretty much Dynamite on Wednesday. Rampage last night. Eddie Kingston defeated Wheeler Yuta. We had Swerve Strickland defeating Matt Sydal. We had Hikaru Shida defeating Queen Aminata, who's had a couple of good outings lately, and apparently she is under contract to AEW, which is awesome. I like her. And we saw the Dark Order with -1 defeating Menard and Parker and Jake Hager. So another little Brody Lee tribute match there. And it looks like the Hardy Boys and Mark Briscoe have formed a little unit here. Mr. Chicken Man and the Hardy Boys might be targeting the trio's titles. So that's kind of interesting. I'd be down with the three of them winning the titles. And it sounds like the Hardy Boys are a little bit frustrated with only being featured on Rampage and not Dynamite. And I love the Hardys. You guys know that. But they're just so physically past what they can do. And I don't really need them in the wrestling universe anymore, to be honest. And best of luck, too, with Matt Hardy. Something might be going on there with him and Rebby. And just thinking about the kids in that situation. Tonight on Collision, which goes live in 4 minutes, we have FTR and Daniel Garcia taking on House of Black. Adam Copeland challenge. I guess Adam Copeland's going to issue an open challenge to somebody. That's cool. We also have the Gates of Agony and Brian Cage taking on Lance Archer and the Righteous. And we have Red Velvet taking on Deonna Purrazzo. And then later on in Battle of the Belts, we have tag team titles on the line. Big Bill and Ricky Starks defending against Les Sex Gods. We have the TBS Championship on the line. Julia Hart defending against Anna Jay. We know Julia will retain there. That's part of the reason probably why Anna Jay got the pin on Wednesday. And the international title on the line, Orange Cassidy versus Preston Vance, who they were tag team partners on Wednesday. So that's what we got coming up tonight. And also TNA Hard to Kill is about to go live as well. So yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot happening. Let me take a sip of this water. Oh my God. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Can you do me a favor? Anybody who has not mashed that thumbs up button for me, if you could do that, that would be super. And I'm going to see if there's anything in the chat here that I missed from earlier. I don't think I missed any super chats, but I just want to be sure. I know there's a lot of other wrestling about to start here, but I'll let you guys go in just a minute. You just got to hang out another couple of minutes so I can. There we go. There's some ones that I missed. Zane G, appreciate that 5 from you earlier. Jinder can win the title and they put Rollins in the Rumble match, get eliminated, then ask for a rematch. I guess that could happen. That could happen too. I feel like as long as Rollins has held the title, that he's probably going to keep it until WrestleMania. But you got to think about Priest now with Jinder in the mix and Rollins not really having a direct path to the Royal Rumble, and to the point where we're thinking he might even have the night off. Something might be up here. I'm definitely going to agree. And Amato, Battle for the Valley is also tonight. Ospreay and Okada. That's right. So Battle in the Valley as well. There's so many battles, y'all. I can't keep track of all these battles. My God. Crazy one. So yeah, another crazy Saturday night of wrestling. I hope you guys enjoy it, whatever you get to watch. Yeah, it's all about just, Sting's choice, with the Young Bucks. That's all I really care about. I just really have a hard time believing this idea that Tony Khan is like, hey, Sting, you're going to do what I say and fuck you. I think that's crazy to think that. Yeah, shell shock, you're exactly right. And another big thing to remember about the kind of ridiculous level of hate that AEW gets is just what I pointed out earlier. It's about all the fans after the Tony Khan 2 or 3 tweets that spent the next 72 hours tweeting 97 consecutive times about how they think he's a clown, he's not focused on his product, and they retweet everybody else who talks shit about him, and it just turns into a 3-day whack-off fest. And I think a lot of that is the same thing. Those things get clicks. Look at the numbers Jim Cornette's podcast does. And it's all just these people with hate boners. They're clicking on his podcast so they can whack off at his voice talking shit about AEW. It's what they do. They do insane numbers. So a lot of it is just the shtick. A lot of it is just, what they do. And it's for clicks and it's for views and it's for money. And that's just the way it is. But I also think a lot of the hate is genuine and really does exist. And I just laugh that and wonder why it does to that degree. We've seen a really, really big improvement in the pro wrestling landscape since AEW came around, and WWE's on the top of its game right now. And I'm pretty happy with both companies, and especially WWE's been the biggest surprise because they were so offensively boring and stagnant and stale and formulaic for so long that it was really a turnoff. And to see them make such a turnaround, such a 180 has been awesome, because now Mania season is fun again. And that's what I like. So anyway, I'm going to get out of here. I am damn near starting to lose my voice talking so much, but I appreciate everybody being here today. Thank you again for joining us. Enjoy Collision, Battle of the Belts, Hard to Kill, and Battle in the Valley. Whatever you're watching tonight, enjoy it. Enjoy your football tomorrow. And please join us tomorrow evening, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific, for our Royal Rumble 1995 watch along. That's going to be fun. And we will be eyeballing the football game as we do that. So enjoy the rest of your Saturday night. Thanks again for being here. And I will catch you all tomorrow night for the watch along. Peace.